welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And by our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and check them out at www.crowdplayapp.com for details. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
And welcome everybody to another edition here of Unsportsmanlike Conduct here on the Sports Box. I am Paul Macrie, alongside, as always, Big V, Mike Velardi. What's going on?
What's up, man? So you ready to talk another week of sports?
Yep, absolutely. Obviously, before we get started, we're going to get a couple big games tonight in town with the Phillies playing the Giants, starting a 3-game series there. We'll talk about Gabe Kapler's return, the former Phillies manager, now the Giants manager, returned to Philadelphia tonight. That game's about to get underway. Sixers and Warriors tonight as the Sixers continue their this is one of probably their biggest difficult stretch of the season here before the playoffs begin. So we'll talk about that and much more. But obviously our sponsors, Showcase Sports. Long time. They were located across the street from the Wawa there on 12th Street. Going to be making the change in location on the Whitehorse Pike, the old Napa, very soon, within the month, I believe. So very happy to have them, obviously, as a continued sponsor here since the new year, and obviously for CrowdPlay as well. So that are our two main sponsors here on Sportsmanlike Conduct. So let's start off with the Phillies. 8-7 now. They did bounce back after an embarrassing road trip where they went 1-5. They've been great at home. They're 7-2 at home, and they beat the Cardinals 2 out of 3 over the weekend. Saturday was an ugly one, but Friday night was a great effort with the offense picking it up, and Eflin was tremendous getting into the 8th inning before he gave up a 2-run homer, but won the game. And then Nola yesterday capping it off with that complete game, his first 9-inning complete game of his career, only gives up 2 hits, striking out 10. And that's what we needed to see from Aaron Nola, especially the other 2 outings. Both were against the Mets. Did not go deep in either of his games, and the Mets really made him have to work for what he got. But yesterday, pinpoint. His velocity, I think, is a little bit down to what it was last year when he was throwing like 93, 94. It's like 91, 92 on that fastball generally right now, but he is located yesterday, I should say, the fastball very well. And that's what you need to see. You know, if he's able to pinpoint that like he's done in the past with that, great curveball that he's got as well, good slider. Obviously he resembled yesterday like an ace, doesn't always show it. What's your thoughts on what, he brought to the table yesterday? Obviously they needed it, of course, but
yeah, great effort by Nola. Who was the last Phillies pitcher, Paul, to have a 2-hit or less game and 10 strikeouts? Do you know?
In a complete game? Not like meaning I would think it would be. I would think it would be Cliff Lee, right?
He was not the last person. He was the one after the last person.
Did Eflin do it?
Lee was 2011, I believe. There was something about somebody in 2015 who did it, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. That's the last 6 years ago was the last time. It seems like DeGrom is throwing. It seems like DeGrom is throwing 2-hit shutouts every game.
Every game, yeah.
Cole Hamels, 2015.
Well, he threw the no-hitter that year, which was his last start as a Philly.
That was probably the game then.
The Wrigley Field. And Tuba Herrera almost made it interesting on that final.
I remember that. That's where he stumbled down, right?
Yeah, like he kind of stumbled a little bit.
Yeah.
But, that was his last outing.
Yeah, getting back to your question, Nola, it was in complete control. It's very hard to believe that it was his first complete game shutout, in a Phillies uniform. He is the ace of the team, okay? I think we all know that. He has died down at some points in his career later on in the year, but he has been a very, very above-average pitcher. There's something to complain about with him. But those are the efforts that they need from him, and they're getting good pitching from, Eflin here and there. They need that from their top three. Wheeler had a good first game, got knocked around a little bit in Atlanta. Listen, they went down to face the Braves. I don't think we talked about this last time. I believe it was in the middle of that series.
No, we did. We did.
We did
The Sunday game.
Right, it was a Sunday. That was the ESPN game.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We were on the next day. Yeah.
Gotcha. My weeks are going into one another. But listen, the Braves always play them tough, especially down there. Then they go to New York, and almost feel like they did the same thing. They against their division, it seems like on the road they have trouble. The Mets are going to be an average team.
I don't know. I've heard it a couple times over the last week. Their home record versus their road record the last 3 or 4 years is there's a big discrepancy.
Oh yeah,
they're really good at home, and obviously on the road you want to be about 500 on the road.
Yep. And
if you're 10 to 15 games above 500 at home, then you're a playoff team. So that's kind of it's easier said than done, that formula, of course, but that is obviously what you want to be, because it's very tough to play on the road. And now, especially with fans back in the seats, even in a limited capacity, it still makes a difference. You're going to see that it's going to be tougher to play on the road. Yeah, I didn't, listen, the Braves in Atlanta, that it is what it is, losing 2 out of 3.
Right.
The Mets series is the one, obviously, was the one that really brought some negative feedback on what this Philly season's been like so far. 8-7's fine, but after the 5-1 start, you obviously expected them to continue to move forward. But they, offensively, they were awful in that series in New York. That really was what the killer was. Neris blew the game in that first game on that Tuesday doubleheader. And, Nola didn't pitch well. He kind of just battled his way through 6 innings somehow, 5 or 6 innings in the second game. But they got shut out. The only time they got shut out this year. And then, they just didn't play good in New York. And they did respond, though. They had a good offensive game in Friday night against St. Louis. The 6-run second inning was huge. Took advantage of a couple Cardinals mistakes in the field, which you need to do. Saturday was just a product of what the big concern is for me right now is their 4 and 5 of their rotations just non-existent. Matt Moore is giving you nothing right now. And Chase Anderson, who's pitching tonight, has really given you nothing so far. So right now you're getting 2 guys in your rotation that you're getting 4 innings out of at most.
Mm-hmm.
And giving up, more than several runs. And if the offense doesn't respond early, it's going to be tough. So they got a big concern. Their issue right now is Spencer Howard isn't quite – he got hurt in spring training and hasn't, I guess, pitched all the way back to being stretched out. He did throw and he was in the bullpen in a game in New York last week and got hit around a little bit. But you know what? I guess I'd rather see him right now in the rotation knowing he's one of your guys that you drafted and he's supposed to be one of your top prospects, and he's still throwing 96, 97. I guess just let him take his lumps as opposed to seeing 2 guys that are veteran. Chase Anderson probably better off just being a log man in the bullpen. Matt Moore probably doesn't belong in the majors at all. I mean, that just seems to be what you're dealing with right now in your 4 and 5. So that's your big issue. I think their offense is going to be fine. I think I think they'll get through this. I know they're not getting much out of their center field right now, but it is what it is. Your center fielders are hitting 8th in the lineup. So you don't expect much out of your 8 usually anyway.
But I'm finally happy that they brought him up, let him play.
Nicky a little bit, yeah.
Listen, he's going to take his lumps. He's and
he didn't look good this past weekend.
But at least you got the number 1 pick up here. Fine, just to play. Let him play.
Yeah, I agree. You got to give him at least a couple weeks here to work through this. And then if still things aren't progressing with him, unfortunately, you're going to have to bring up. You're probably going to have to bring up a Dougal. I mean, I hate to say it, but you're probably going to have to bring him up because I don't know what's happening with Hazley. Hazley's got personal issues or something going on. Obviously, it's none of our business, but Joe Girardi got it almost to the point where he said he didn't know when he was coming back. So that's very interesting. But Roman Quinn's giving you nothing. He's a defensive replacement pinch
awful.
runner. He's
awful.
just.
And I was an advocate for him. I thought he would be a guy who would at least hit 250 and get on base. He stinks.
Yeah.
When he's healthy and he can get on base, his legs are phenomenal. But he can't stay healthy. He can't hit worth a shit. He's awful right now. But I just saw when I'm watching the start of the game, it just popped up. Alvarado's on the DL. Matt Moore's on COVID.
Yeah, Alvarado's also on the COVID protocol because of potential. Contact tracing. I think a couple of their coaches are the first base coach, the third base coach. I think the bullpen coach. So I think that's where issues are going on right now. Was more with their coaching staff. Right. So they got their AAA. A couple of the AAA coaches coaching tonight. So yeah, it's
let's talk about Gabe Kapler returning to Philly this weekend, or this week, I should say.
Supposedly he got booed.
Good.
All that.
Our buddy Jack Fritz, who we had on the show a little while ago, I was just listening to him on the way home, and he said he gave a top 5 reasons Gabe Kapler coming back, top 5 things that he did over his career here. And, it was one of these, one of the segments where they can kind of express how they felt about him. I think he was a Kapler guy, Fritz. Fritz and Gilio loved him.
Yeah.
And
Gilio especially.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I don't think that he was a terrible manager, but like Jack Fritz said, 68 pitches in the opener for Aaron Nola and you pull him doesn't really start your tenure off too well as a Phillies manager, and the fans were all over him after they did that as well.
And I think if I recall that opening series, which was in Atlanta 3 years ago, he also had an issue where he didn't have somebody warmed up in a bullpen, like right away. Like those two things, like amateur moves, right off the bat was just tough, and the fans never really fully forgave him. Even in that year in 2018 when they actually made a run. At one point, if I recall, mid to late August, they were in first place because they made a couple moves at the deadline to indicate that they were, they brought in Asdrubal Cabrera, I remember that year, to play shortstop. Wilson Ramos, catcher, actually did some decent things. I think he hit a couple home runs in his tenure there. But they were like 15 games above 500 at one point in August, and then they just completely collapsed in September, and I think went like basically 15 games below 500. Yeah, because they finished 500 that year. Yeah. So there was some real good moments that first year for him, and even the second year, they started off really hot in 2019. You brought in Harper and McCutchen. You made a couple moves, in the offseason. David Robertson, they thought was going to be the reliable closer, and he got hurt right away. But they started that year, if I recall, like 33-20 or something like that through Memorial Day. And then things collapsed for them, and they just never recovered. Like they kind of just were around 500 the rest of the season. Yep. So that was kind of, he had a couple positive stretches there in both of his years as manager. But for whatever reason, they just were never consistent enough. And just never were able to get over the hump. And they said that right now his career record, now with combined the season with the Giants, is 199 and 200. So this guy is literally a 500 manager. Yeah. Through, last year wasn't a full season, obviously, but last year I think they finished right with the Phillies last year record-wise. I think they were like 28 and 32, or maybe even 30 and 30. Yeah. This year they're off to 9 and 6. Giants are off to a good start. They blew that game the other night against the Marlins, and on Saturday night the bullpen blew it. But he's actually gotten a lot more out of his team than you would think he would have. So I think he's respected as far as being a player's manager. I think he's learned from some of his mistakes, I guess, to not just be so. I think his handling of the media, he's more, and I think they talked about today throughout the Philadelphia, media and radio. He's just more suited for the California market. Yeah. So I think maybe this is just a perfect settling down point for him that, maybe he could manage 5 or 6 years for the Giants.
Because nobody really cares. Nobody really cares like Philly and New York and all those markets do.
Right. I mean, San Francisco had a great run, those 3 World Series under Bruce Bochy. So don't get me wrong. He takes over, for a Hall of Fame manager. But I think that just is going to be a little more relaxed because I think the expectations are definitely lesser right now in San Francisco because they are technically rebuilding. They got a couple good young pieces to build around, but they're not quite there yet, especially in the division when you're competing with the Dodgers and Padres, so.
Well, good segue.
Yep.
Into the Dodgers-Padres series, which was, a great NL West showdown. Listen, I obviously SportsCenter was showing the catch that Mookie Betts made in right center field to kind of save that game. Also, I saw today Trevor Bauer strike out Fernando Tatis and was just pounded his chest.
I know.
And listen, everybody thinks Trevor Bauer's nuts. That's the guy you want on your team. I want a guy with
you want that fiery nature for sure, but I think he takes it a little over the top at times.
He's a good pitcher. He won the NL Cy Young last year.
Like he's strutting around like he's Conor McGregor.
If he was on this team and he did that, they would love him. They would love him.
Well, something tells me that he necessarily didn't want to deal with this type of media because he turned down the Mets contract, which was just basically just as similar to the one with the Dodgers. And I guess he just felt comfortable going back to, he's from that area. So I guess it made sense. But yeah, I mean, I think it's from just the aspect. This was a good start. And then they play again this weekend coming up. So this is the expectations, these two teams, not only in this division, but maybe entire baseball, definitely internationally, are two of the better teams. So, Dodgers are off the 13-3 start. Padres are 10-7. So, and the Friday night game went to extra innings, and then the Dodgers blew it open in the 12th. I think they scored 5 runs in the 12th to win 11-6. Saturday night was a great pitchers duel between Kershaw and Darvish, I believe, and Kershaw won that battle 2-0. And then yesterday, the Padres were able to salvage the final game of the series, winning 5-2. Blake Snell pitched yesterday for the Padres. Bauer took the loss, gave up 2 runs, I think, in 6 innings, I believe. Yeah. So, you got great pitchers on both sides. Great offenses, great faces for the game, and it's what you want. I mean, baseball is a little bit of a, what do we got to do to? Popularity is definitely down right now. I mean, there's no secret. I mean, unless you're a huge baseball junkie, you're not going to get into some of these sleep fests that there are now with these games. So this, I think, is what baseball needs, and I think to get this first 3 games of a 19-game, obviously scheduled series between these two division rivals, I think is great for baseball. So we'll see how this weekend series plays out as well.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Listen, I just watched Andrew McCutchen get out, and it's just like the guy's hitting 170.
Yeah, he's struggling.
You know what I mean? They don't even have a leadoff hitter on this team.
They don't, even if McCutchen was hitting a little bit.
He's not a leadoff hitter.
I don't think he's a leadoff hitter, but since he's been a Philly, he's been their leadoff hitter. So
it's almost like there's so many holes that we don't realize because they're like, oh, McCutchen's good. It's a name. Hoskins is good. It's a name.
McCutchen's past his prime.
Dude, Hoskins has 2 home runs and 5 RBIs in 15 games. That's not good. That's not good. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Listen, the Dodgers and the Padres right now are the class of the National League. We know that.
I think the Braves will still be there, but they're struggling a little bit to start off. What are they, 7-9 or something?
Did it right. The Padres did it right. They built from within. They had a great farm system.
Yeah.
Yes, they did go out and get Machado, but listen, all those young pitchers they have, they didn't go out and sign a ton of those guys. And with Darvish, but Lamet, a bunch of those guys, they came through their system.
Right.
So they did it the right way. Phillies have moved off their whole freaking farm system 5 years ago, and they have nothing now.
Yeah, their best pitching prospect's a guy they just drafted last year, Gabe,
Right.
and he's not going to be ready for a couple of years, obviously. So, and Spencer Howard's supposed to be your other guy, but he's not quite ready. But I think at this point, with the circumstances and what they have as far as their 4 or 5 starters, I think you just put them in there.
Exactly. Put him in there. It can't be any worse.
Exactly.
Get him the. I mean, he did have some. Listen, I just watch Harper get a base hit. Everybody can talk what they want about him, and he goes into a slump, whatever.
He's playing well.
He's a fiery guy. I love his enthusiasm.
Perfect for the
He would be a guy who tries to get a double and gets thrown out, and I wouldn't care.
He did the 1 week, the opening series. I think it's Braves. He did get thrown out by Acuna. Threw him out a second.
But you want that kind of guy. Yeah. He's hurt, isn't he, Acuna? I heard.
Yeah, he's got an abdominal injury he sustained last night. I don't think they put him on the injured list yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. So
perfect.
Yeah, Atlanta's off to a slow start. The Nationals are off to a slow start. Now Strasburg, right, already he's hurt. 2 games in, he's on the DL.
Win a World Series, sign that big contract. You know things are going to happen.
Yeah, Strasburg's had some arm injuries now, so Nationals
gave him a ton of money too.
Yep, and the Mets percentage point wise are in first place, playing less games, but they're 7-4. Anytime DeGrom goes out there, you just expect him to throw 7-8 innings and give up.
It's amazing to have a guy like that.
He's
Colorado hit him around the other day, didn't they?
No, I thought did he give up 1 or 2 runs? He struck out 14.
Did he?
Yeah,
I thought that they scored 2 or 3 runs in the first couple innings.
They played a doubleheader. The first Friday night got canceled. So, yeah, he struck out 9 in a row. Yeah, he did give up a couple runs in the 5th inning.
Yeah, it was good. Well, yeah.
Or 3 runs in the 5th inning, but I think none of them were earned.
Listen, you got a guy throwing 9 Ks in a row, 14 Ks for a game. I live with that. You live with that.
He's got a .45 ERA because none of those runs were earned.
0.45?
Wow. Yeah, .45 ERA to start the season.
It's amazing.
And he did pick up the win. His first win of the year, he's 1-1. He never gets any run support, though, but he was able to get a couple runs.
Yeah.
Cross, Alonso, 2-run homer, and then the 7th inning, they got big hits from VR and Lindor. So, yeah, I mean, you got that guy throwing every 5th day. It's almost, at least you give yourself a definite chance to win. Stroman's pitching good so far for them, too, and they need him because, until Syndergaard's ready, they need him to be right now, Stroman to be their number 2, and especially with Carrasco down. And so they got a couple starting pitchers down right now. So they're off to a good start. And, as I said, I think Stroman's the most important piece of that puzzle so far, the way he's pitching. So,
right.
I'm just looking at the rest of the league. I mean, really, the Dodgers 13-3. I mean, that's just going to be, they'll keep pacing the field throughout the year. Giants are obviously a bit of surprise at 9-6 coming in tonight. Cincinnati's leading the Central at 9-6. And in the American League, Seattle's a little bit of surprise, 10-6 to start off. I think they started off fast last year, if I remember.
Okay.
Oakland has won 8 in a row. They're 9-7 now. They started off 1-7, so they picked it up. Angels have been steady. They're 8-5. Kansas City's off to a nice start at 9-5. We'll see. I mean, Central right now, Minnesota's got some COVID issues. I know. I think they're going to play tomorrow, though. White Sox are right around 500. We'll see with the Kansas City Royals. They're not a bad baseball team. So, and Jeremy Bland chiming in, baseball time, yeah, buddy. How about the Red Sox, 13-6 or 11-6? Excuse me.
How about that?
They crushed Lucas Giolito on Patriots Day today.
6 earned runs in the first inning, I believe.
Yeah, so
that's your boy, Lucas Giolito.
I had him last year, 2 years ago.
Did you like him?
They lead the plus 28 run differential. That's the second best mark in the majors behind the Dodgers. So nobody talked about the Red Sox coming into the year, and they're off to a great start. Meanwhile, the Yankees, We got to get in them a little bit. They're off to the pathetic 5-10 start, and I don't care if it's a 162 game season in the city of New York. You can't afford a slow start, and that's exactly what has happened. They just got swept by the Rays over the weekend.
I think I saw the stat. Tampa Bay's beaten them 18 of their last 23 games or something like that.
You're probably right because
That's ridiculous.
they're including the playoff series win this past October, where they beat them in 5. And I think they did pretty well, against them, if I recall, in the regular season last year too. So that sounds about right. I mean, they're struggling right now. Other than Garrett Cole, what else is really positive going on? I mean,
nothing.
I'm looking right now. None of their regular lineup guys are hitting over anywhere near 300. DJ LeMahieu is at 286, who leads.
He's an average guy. He's usually an average guy too.
Yeah, and Aaron Judge is hitting 255. Urshela is hitting 250. Gardner 240. Sanchez doesn't hit for average anyway, 237. Torres is under 200 to start off. Stanton's 176. Not necessarily an average guy, but yeah, I mean they're hitting 210 as a team so far.
yeah.
I mean that's not good. That's not good.
Especially for the expectations. Listen, they got rid of James Paxton. He kind of went and signed with Seattle. He's I think done for the year almost. He's got some kind of issue going on.
Yeah, he's got. I think he needs Tommy John.
Yeah, he's got some kind of issue going on there. So, I think Domingo Germán hasn't even. I think he pitched a little bit early, and then he got hurt again, or he needed time to go down and throw. Listen, was it beneficial to sign a guy for $300 million to pitch when you don't have the rest of your team? Listen, they're an aging team. Stanton's getting up there. He's not really giving you much anymore after that huge contract. If he stays healthy.
Well, he did play well in the postseason. Remember, he went through that tear in the postseason when that Cleveland series and that Tampa series. Yeah, I know. I know he hasn't been healthy. Judge doesn't stay healthy either, but they're two of the better feared hitters in the game still.
Of course. But listen, they lost Tanaka. He went to Japan or wherever he went to.
He went back to Japan. Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's hard to plug and play holes. Jamison Taillon, I think, is doing okay. It's not like he's lighting the world on fire, but they get big name guys, and sometimes they just can't go to the big city and do it.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's other than Garrett. I mean, Garrett Cole is doing what you would expect Garrett Cole to do so far in 4 games. 2-1, 3 quality starts, 24 2/3, 39 strikeouts. But Jordan Montgomery's like your second best pitcher right now.
Right.
Corey Kluber. I mean, at this point,
they took a shot on a name.
They took a shot on a name, but clearly at this point, he's obviously a shell of what his former self when he was at Cleveland. I mean that's clear. I mean, right now their starting pitching is not performing, and their offense obviously is, as I said, they're hitting 210 as a team so far.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the formula for a 5-10 mark, and they got Atlanta tomorrow night. So, for a 3-game series, it could be, it looks like it's going to be without, Acuna in Atlanta's lineup, but yeah, they're not in a good spot to start off the season, and we'll see where things head, but I would be still surprised if they let this thing really fall apart. I mean, I still think they'll figure it out and be fine, but I would think overall, I would still think the biggest concern is probably their starting rotation. Because outside of Cole right now, I mean, who are you going to rely on then after that? I mean, Montgomery is a good 4 or 5 starter. I mean, he can't be your number 2 best. He can't be your second best starter. So that's clear.
Yeah, they don't have a staff like Walker Buehler or Kershaw. They don't have 3 number 1s on their team. Let's put it that way.
Or
they
even
like a 4A, 4B, 4C.
Yeah, and like even like Atlanta's rotation when they're all healthy, and the Padres. I mean, they're as good as it gets. White Sox got a pretty good rotation too. I would even think right now Tampa's rotation is better. Who they throw out there. They got a really good rotation. Guys like Glassnail, Tyler Glassnail is an ace.
Yeah.
I mean, now that Charlie Morton is no longer there, Blake Snell, I mean, he's your guy.
Right.
Ryan Yarborough is off to a decent start. Michael Waka, and I guess the rotation's not that great other than Glassnail. And they go with a lot of bullpen guys anyway. A lot of openers.
Yeah.
Guys like that. But yeah, I mean, that's my biggest concern right now with the Yankees would be their rotation. More than you have to figure, the averages will tell you they'll figure it out and start hitting the ball. It's right now their rotation. So,
Paul, getting to the NBA and NHL regular seasons winding down. Obviously, tonight you have the Sixers playing without Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
You have Steph Curry coming to town, I believe, off of 10 30-point games in a row.
Oh, he's on fire, yeah.
There was a 50-point game in there as well,
yep.
I believe.
Yeah, earlier last week.
So you have a team in the Sixers who, they're looking to make their claim in the Eastern Conference. Listen, they are one of the top 2 to 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. I think that everybody knows that. But I got a burning question for you that I kind of want to get your opinion on it. Let's say that they don't win the Eastern Conference. I'm not even talking about the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Is Ben Simmons gone? Do you think that they realize that Ben and getting pieces for him because they don't win it this year? Is he one of the fall guys in this to try and revamp a team that obviously if they don't win it this year, are they going to get any further?
Well, if they're the 1 seed, if they end up holding on for the 1 seed, which I think they got a good chance of doing because of Brooklyn now dealing with still Harden hurt. Durant just got hurt again.
So. Kyrie just kind of sits out whenever he wants to.
Right. Kyrie just takes PTO. You have an inside track, basically a very easy inside track to get to the Eastern Conference Finals because you're likely would avoid then Brooklyn and Milwaukee, obviously, until that point. And then you're looking at right now, Atlanta's the 4 right now with Boston. They're tied, 4 or 5 seeds. I think they match up great against Boston this year.
Yeah. Well,
you saw it already in a couple of the matchups they played.
I think Boston's a little bit down too, honestly. I mean,
Tatum's still great and Jaylen Brown's, better, but they just have no interior. They have no interior answer.
No.
For Joe. If Embiid's healthy, he's just going to dominate anybody down low against Boston.
By the way, teams are getting fined now apparently for benching or sitting guys for rest. I heard Popovich got it. Load management day.
Well, Popovich is the innovator of all this, and it has never stopped.
That slob Brett Brown brought it here and was doing it too.
And it's never stopped, and the NBA doesn't have an answer for it right now because
the
NBA wants all these games, and they especially wanted to kind of cram in 72 games because they lost revenue late last year when the league shut down. They didn't have playoff revenue from fans because there was they played in a bubble. They started this year, most of the arenas didn't have fans, and now things are starting to pick up a little bit. So they knew they lost some money that way, but at the same time, they can't really tell the players who are already complaining about playing too many games before this.
Right.
Now you're playing even more games in a condensed schedule. So you're going to tell the players they have to play. So it's like it's a very tough line that we're trying to cram these games in. We're admitting it because we're trying to make more money. We're trying to make some money back, even though they got great TV deals, and I think they'll be fine.
Right.
But at the same time, the players, or I should say, from a fan's perspective, you're paying for games. You're going to games. Let's just put for this instance last week, the Sixers playing Brooklyn on a Wednesday night. People were looking forward to the game, and KD and Harden didn't play. And, KD could have played, but it was
of course.
a second game of a back-to-back, and he wasn't playing. And, Kyrie played, and that was it. And the Sixers, I think, what were they missing? I think they missed Dwight Howard. Well, they missed a couple of bench guys that game, but it was, they still had Embiid and Harris and Ben. But tonight, I don't know. Ben's not playing. Could he play if it's the playoffs? I don't know. They say he's got an illness. And this is Harris's second consecutive game he's missing now. So I assume maybe he's a little bit banged up. So, I guess, there's an excuse there. But, fans don't like this. You're paying to go to these games. There's only, there's only 4,000 fans in Philadelphia, the Wells Fargo Center, permitted right now. So tickets aren't easy to get. So when you get them, you want to see the best product on the court. You want to see the best players, and you're not seeing it.
Yep.
So it's a fine line right now. And the NBA has, for the last 4 or 5 years, has really watered down the regular season, and it just doesn't matter. And the teams pretty much show that, Brooklyn doesn't care if they get the 1 seed. They're pretty much showing you right now they don't care. And I don't even think the Sixers really overly care either.
No.
But they just happen to be the 1 seed right now because they've won 4 in a row and they're playing pretty well. So
we're gonna talk a little NFL drafts in a little bit. Chris Tenta, he wants to get all fired up about how he picking some loser. We'll get to that. We'll get to talking about our Eagles soon. But yeah, you're right, Paul. And the same thing goes for the NHL. Flyers are a little bit on a downhill spiral, if you want to call it that. I literally hope they lose out. I literally hope they lose out every game.
Yeah, because they're not making the playoffs.
And it's an embarrassing thing to watch when you watch a team like the Capitals come in here, a team like even the Islanders, they're so overmatched. And I know they only lost 1-0 yesterday, but you can just tell when a team is just not very good, and they're not very good. They're not good at all in any aspect. They can't stop pucks. Goalie's not very good. They can't play defense. They have nobody to score. And my stance on these older guys and these contracts. It's very hard to watch, and they're going to be in this situation for the next 2 to 3 years because they can't get rid of these guys.
Yep. So
unless these guys retire or do something, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, we know what the hockey scene right now. Capitals and the Islanders and the Penguins and Bruins are likely to be your 4 teams, and we'll see with the Rangers. But I don't want to talk too much about hockey because then this guy comments. So #FireAV. We were trying to avoid a Brian Attard comment this evening, but we got one. So we'll talk about hockey as we get when the playoffs come, I think, at this point. But, yeah, NFL draft is next Thursday, so it's here. And obviously, we're going to have wall-to-wall draft coverage next week here on the Sports Box. Everything you can imagine. Obviously, Thursday, the first round show, but even before then, we'll have something, Tuesday, Wednesday as well. I don't know if Friday we'll do something for second, third round. I will not be around. I have a wedding to go to, but you guys all have fun doing a Friday show. And I'm being told fired. Well, listen, I'm the only one that wants to do shows, it seems like, here on the network. So I don't think you want to. I know, I hear you. I'm referring to some other people.
Oh, I know who you are. Some people who are still getting paid. Their contract is still there, but they're not doing any shows.
Yep.
Yes, Paul, we are covering day 2.
Very nice.
Now,
and Attard will cover day 3 by himself. Rounds 4 through 7.
Listen,
5 hours.
There's been a lot of talk. Okay, there's been a lot of talk that 12th pick now. What are the Eagles going to do? Talking about jumping back into the top. I don't even know if you want to call it top 10, top 7. I guess it's almost like they want to go back to where they were, but keep that 1 pick that they had. So they're going to trade 37 and 70 or whatever they have in those 2 picks to slide back in. It's a possibility. Paul, I really think that they want Jamar Chase. I really think that that's the guy they want. I don't know, but it seems like I think Kyle Pitts is out of it if he's top 3 or 4.
Yes.
I don't think they really can get to there. Well,
Chase,
but if
they would
they're
have to.
listen, if they're
Chase, they would have to.
listen, if they're trying to move back into the top 6, it's not for a quarterback. I would highly think so. I would highly think that it's to get Jamar Chase. I do. Because they could stay at 12 and still get Waddle or Devonta Smith. They can still get one of those guys there possibly. So I think that they have a target that they want Jamar Chase. And if they get back into that spot in the draft, they could possibly get him.
Yeah, I think Jamar Chase is going to Cincinnati. That's my thought. I guess the Joe Burrow factor, him being teammates with him in college.
John Ross 2.0.
No.
No,
and then
Cincinnati going high on a wide out.
Well, yeah. Well, last year they picked T. Higgins in the second round, right? And then
no,
Higgins played well.
Oh, he caught it. Dude, he lost the ball on the lights. It was first and second. He lost the ball. Moniak lost the ball on the lights, and he caught it. He dove and he caught it.
Wow, nice. Yeah, everything's in play for the Eagles. Obviously, 11 picks in total in this draft, tied for the most.
Here it is.
So they, they're in position to do really anything. But fans are. I almost feel like honestly, whoever the Eagles pick, there's going to be people complaining.
Oh, of course.
Nobody believes in Howie, so I feel like it's a no-win situation. Whoever they pick.
I feel like Chris Tenta with that CM Punk little picture over there. This sounds like a WWE rant right here.
Sure does.
He's very fired up. He's a big Eagles fan, so he hates Howie Roseman. Now I can tell you that.
So my question is, because I think the only quarterback that could, I know you will. The only quarterback that I think you would even think would be there at 12 to consider, just assuming they stay at 12, would be Justin Fields.
You think so? They're talking about him sliding that far now.
But I think the Patriots are going to move up for a quarterback.
So does Mac Jones get taken at number 3? Is that who the Niners want?
I think so.
It's amazing. It's amazing how a guy's stock value could just be sky high at some point.
And I think Atlanta could take
middle of first rounder talking.
And then Atlanta could take Trey Lance.
I think Atlanta's taking Kyle Pitts, to be honest with you.
I think you got to start scheduling. I think you got to start looking ahead to the future as far as your next quarterback. Because Matt Ryan's not going to be there in a couple years, or even after this year. Who knows? But I think he's got one more year.
Who was their current backup?
They don't have a quarterback of the future.
Atlanta,
or any young quarterback of note. So I would think that a guy like Lance is in play. Maybe Justin Fields. So, Pitts looks like he's gained enough momentum now. He looks like he's going to be a top 6, 7, 8 pick.
Yep.
For sure. Right now, it just, depends, where, does the team move up? You hear Dallas is in love with him. I mean, it makes sense because Dallas could use a tight end. There's no question about it. But Pitts is just one of those freakish athletes that he is going to be – he just looks like he's more than a tight end. He looks like he can basically line up anywhere, in the slot, obviously in a traditional tight end spot. I wouldn't even just be surprised if he lines up out wide at some points. But I just think he's going to be a mismatch nightmare for a lot of defenses, and I think that's why right now in a league where you really value that tight end position, I think that's why a lot of teams are going to really maybe look to move up and get him too. So who knows? So that's going to be one of the intriguing players of this draft is likely going to be Kyle Pitts next Thursday. I can't tell you the Eagles are going to take it at this point. I don't know.
Do they? I really don't know either. Because knowing them, we're going to be thinking that they're staying at 12. They're going to move around.
We
don't know what they're going to do. We honestly don't. So It should be a fun draft from the sense of every time the Eagles play or pick in the draft, they do something that we didn't think they were going to do, like drafting this guy last year. And then I go get my son a jersey, and he switches his jersey to number 1. So what's that tell you?
Unbelievable.
Mush City.
That is kind of, if you think about it, him changing his number to 1 when he probably knew people already bought his jersey. It's kind of selfish.
Yeah,
actually.
Well, and listen, don't think that it doesn't have anything to do with Wentz making his number 2 either. He probably didn't want the same number as him, to be honest with you.
I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean,
Chase Anderson gets out of a first and second no outs.
Wow.
Where are you sitting at now, Paulie? Where are you at? Oh, you're facing the other way.
Yeah, because it's a better backdrop.
Yeah, that little painting in the back with a little ficus in the corner is nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have
behind you.
I don't have the all the pictures and the jerseys behind. That's, I think, a better look. But
well,
for a sports show. But,
yeah, it's all good. I tried.
Yeah, but we're going to talk so much about the draft next week throughout every show. So obviously it's one of the big off-season events for the NFL. They make it into a big spectacle. And this year it is in Cleveland. And thankfully this year it is not fully virtual. So
right.
I think there are limited fans allowed outside at Cleveland, wherever I'm not sure what they're setting up outside.
Yeah, not sure.
But it should be nice to see. And there's even obviously some that are going to be there as far as those, the top prospects. First round picks are going to be there. Lawrence is going to be in Clemson. He already said he wants to be there, I guess, to be with
his wife.
Well, yeah, I guess. But also Dabo.
Yeah, well, did you see the tweet he sent out the other day about thanking Jacksonville and for the donations that they made to his charity?
No, I didn't see
You didn't say it? It said basically it said I guess the people in Jacksonville pretty much already have him on their team. So a lot of them made like $20,000 worth of donations to his charity. So he said something to the fact of in the last sentence said, hope to be a part of Jaguar Nation, something like that. And like, oh, that's tampering. He said hope to. He didn't say I can't wait to be. Yeah, people just took it and ran with it type thing.
Yeah, but we all know he's going number 1. And
so what if the Eagles do enough to trade into the 1 spot? Listen, I'm saying any team, not just the Eagles. I'm not just saying that. What if a team says we'll give you 4 number 1 pick? I'm just throwing something out there.
I don't think Jacksonville will do it still. I still don't think they will do it.
Listen, they've been starving for a quarterback even before they got Blake Bortles. Okay, they really somebody would need to give them 10 number 1 picks for them to get rid of this pick.
I really think Jacksonville won't take anything. They are not in the business.
Right. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it is interesting if there is any price.
Paulie,
that would.
You're a Clemson guy, okay? Answer my question in 2 parts. Mm-hmm. Just a yes or no with the first question.
Okay.
Would you want to see Deshaun Watson in an Eagles uniform?
No.
Okay. Question number 2. Is it because of his issues right now, or is it because you'd have to get too much for him?
Both. Gonna be both.
Do you think that the Eagles are trying to get him?
They always let on to the media that they're interested in everybody. So I don't know.
Listen, it wouldn't be a guy they're drafting. It's a proven guy. It's a guy who may even come less of a cost now because of what's going on.
Yeah, believe it or not, I think there are still teams that won't shy away from what's going on right now.
Listen, let's say the Eagles offer them a first-round pick and something else and they're going to try and get rid of him at any cost for anything at this point. Then he gets, all this stuff goes away, nothing happens, we're all lying, whatever the case is. The Eagles look like geniuses. I'm just throwing out a hypothetical to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we learned with this team, rule out anything for sure. I just think right now, I guess just ignoring what we've, the last month has been for Watson as far as in the media for non-football reasons. I just think it's not something that the Eagles should be looking to do right now when they have so many other needs and they need to fill out the rest of this roster. And I really just think they need to see if Jalen Hurts is the guy as well. I guess you can't rule out. I mean, they're going to draft a quarterback in this draft at some point. I don't know when. I don't know if it's going to be like a Kyle Trask, like in the second, third round. I wouldn't be surprised. No. But
dude, are they really going to draft another quarterback in the second round when they have so many needs?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Listen, they either draft one in the first round or they don't take one until the end of the draft. I really do think that.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think it's, right now.
Moniak just struck out on 3 straight pitches. He looked at 2 of them. He swung at the last one. Good number 1 pick. Nolan Patrick 2.0.
But we want to see a couple weeks of him, so don't say anything yet.
Listen, why can't we Lamont Iverson? He's the only number 1 pick we've hit on. Like, come on. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, that year, you look at the guys they did. The Phillies decided not to pick, like Ian Anderson.
Give me some names that they passed on so I can throw up a little bit.
Ian Anderson, who pitches for the Braves now. Nick Senzel on the Reds. I don't think he's playing that great, but I mean, there was a couple guys even later. That was a draft that Barnegat kid got taken by the Red Sox. 12th overall, Jason Groom, and he's been hurt. I think he had Tommy John. So
back stronger than ever.
So at least they didn't take him, I guess.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, there was another guy, AJ Puck.
AJ Puck.
He pitches for Oakland. He got hurt last year, but he was pitching pretty well before he got hurt.
Give me 1 second. I got to open the store up.
All right. So, I mean, obviously the top picks for the Philadelphia have not worked out too well lately.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think the Sixers have hit on most of them, to be honest with you. You got Embiid. Well, I'm not number 1 picks overall. I'm talking about top 5 picks. You got Embiid. You got, Sean Bradley really wasn't a hit, but you got Iverson was probably the best one, honestly.
Yes, for sure.
The Phillies have taken some doozies, but listen, that it's hard to think about because the Flyers have screwed up so many picks over the years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they have. So we'll talk much more about the NFL draft next week. It's so much to talk about. Obviously, Phillies series underway with San Fran here with Gabe Kapler's return for the next 3 days. Then they have a road trip in Colorado over the weekend and then in St. Louis. So you get the Cardinals already out of the way after this week.
Yep.
And the Sixers got an important week here. They got Golden State just got underway here tonight. Then Phoenix on Wednesday. Then back-to-back in Milwaukee Thursday night and Saturday afternoon. So that's going to be an interesting 2 games there. I think we'll take a split. If they're somehow able to split those 2 games, that would be an accomplishment for sure. And the Flyers season is done. So I think that they don't play till like Thursday against the Rangers, I think so.
Yep.
And
good, man. Close it down. Close shop for unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yep.
Not really sure what's going to happen next week. I do have a game, so we will see if Paulie's going to recruit somebody or if he's going to go
solo.
solo or without us for the week.
Or it could no. I will discuss this off the air. I don't even want to speculate who. But anyway, yeah, thanks for those that have chimed in tonight here on the Sports Box with their questions and comments this evening. And we will be back. If not next Monday, not 100% on it. Obviously, the following Monday, we'll have time to go through, which will be the draft recap of, obviously what went on in the NFL draft. So that's it for tonight. I'm Paul Macrie again, alongside Big V, Mike Velardi. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night and have a great week, everybody. And see you.
Thank you for watching the Unsportsmanlike Conduct Show on the Sports Box. Please remember to follow us on all of our social media outlets. On Facebook at Sportsbox Show, Twitter at Sportsbox Show, Instagram at The Sportsbox Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And also our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 free points. Thank you for joining us.